Hello everyone, I am Jeff Sylvia and welcome to Up for Discussion Live. Joining me as always, bringing her A-game is my lovely co-host Shannon Sylvia. Hello, Shan.
My A-game is brought.
Your A-game is
Good evening,
brought.
darling husband of mine.
It's good to be back. It's good to be off a little summer break, hanging out here with you guys on Pierre Rock TV.
Yeah.
And
Missed you guys.
very good show coming up tonight, guys.
You have a great guest.
Special guest.
I am
Very
stoked
special
about
guest.
this one.
You want to tell them who it is?
No, why don't you?
All right.
I'll tell him who it is. We get a real Bigfoot hunter, guys. Tonight, live, Cliff Barackman from Animal Planet's Finding Bigfoot. How cool is that?
Very cool. Very cool indeed. And speaking of very cool, kid, I want to give you some props while we're here. It's been a while, and, for those the couple people on the planet that may not recognize you, this is Shannon Sylvia, not only from Ghost Hunters International.
Yep.
You are the Shan and Cakes. You run a web design company now, celebrating 13 years. You've written a book in all of your spare time. And you are known in at least 68 countries as the Who Does That chick.
I am.
How do you do all that?
You make me, basically, because I'm not allowed to have time. For the 4th of July weekend.
Which goes against every moral fiber of your
that's pretty
soul.
much the bottom of the barrel for me as far as celebrity goes, and doesn't bother me a bit. They're buying 12 copies of my book, so
nothing wrong with that.
That is going to be the party favors as well as some ghostly cupcakes, and we're going to be sitting around a campfire, and I'm going to tell the boys a couple stories.
Very cool.
And then we're going to go drinking next door at the 4th of July party. So
we're going to leave the kids behind, though, right?
We're
they don't have
sit
IDs.
next door, the backyard actually. But
that's right.
The book's doing well. I don't know when we're going to start the second one, and all is well. Just staying busy right now. Cakes galore. That's really what it's all about, is the cake stuff. And Jeff, of course, you're always busy designing something for this show. It's ever changing.
And speaking of ever changing, we are changing things up here a little bit, as we're going to be broadcasting live from the Mid-South Paranormal Convention, August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Can you say Louisville?
Louisville.
You got to say it right, like you're
Louisville,
from
Kentucky.
And we are going to be giving away tickets later in the show. You're going to have to like us on Facebook if you want to win those tickets. And we're going to come up with some cool contests. Shannon, I'm kind of putting you on the spot. I didn't think I prepped you for this part, but
what's that?
The cool contest for Mid-South tickets tonight.
Well, what do you need?
We're going to come up with a question.
All right.
You're going to come up with one of those real testing questions that you are so good in coming up with, and we'll see who goes up on the Facebook page and answers it and wins some tickets.
Sounds good.
Only the biggest paranormal convention in the country.
It is, actually. Anyway. I got to admit, Keith Age, and everybody knows Keith Age from the sci-fi movies with the Booth Brothers. He's got quite a bit of people on that list this year who are coming out for celebs. And loving it. This will be our 3rd year back. Cannot wait. We're going to have a cake-off, guys. That's going to be completely new to Mid-South this year. Cake-off. I'm going to be a celebrity judge, and there's going to be others. Don't you worry.
That's awesome.
It's all in the works. But
awesome.
I just lined up an official sponsor, King Arthur Flour.
Wow.
It's official. She emailed me today and asked me where I wanted the prizes sent. So we're going to have about $350 worth of prizes.
Can you see the flour coming in those plastic wraps? Checking you at the door.
Well, in order to enter the contest, you are going to have to provide a receipt showing that you actually bought King Arthur flour. That was one of the stipulations, but I don't think that's going to be too hard.
Very cool.
Even if you use Duncan Hines, go ahead and buy a bag of King Arthur flour.
And not for nothing, I hope we get home this year, because the first 2 years we've been in Kentucky, we've been stranded with hurricanes and violent storms, and we had to drive home both times. We rented a car the first time, then we hitched a ride the second time. So we
we drove home once. We ended up flying out of
did we?
straight from
Oh,
Louisville
that's right. We
last
stayed a
year.
couple extra days.
We were supposed to
That's
fly out of Cincinnati, but we couldn't, so we flew out of Louisville, and it was just I'm really fretting this weekend because 2 years in a row we've been postponed from flying or canceled because of hurricanes in the East Coast. So please, guys, just don't do this to me another time. I am never, ever driving home from Kentucky for as long as I live, ever again. I love you, Eric Singleton. I do. And it was really fun driving in your blue car while I was in the back seat the whole time, but I don't want to ever do that again. I just want to go home.
All right. Always an adventure. Always an adventure. And
Yep.
don't forget to follow us on Facebook, guys. You can follow us at facebook.com/UFD Rocks. You can also follow us on Twitter, and that's where you can get the latest goings on and information, everything going on here on the show. So, Shan, you know me, and you know how I talk about athletes and their responsibilities to not only their fans but their communities. And I could not wait to rip into this one this week, kid. And of course, I'm talking about Chad Ocho Cinco Dipshit Johnson.
Oh, is that his name?
Who just spent
this
a week in
this
jail.
Was priceless.
He did. He just spent a week in jail because he decided that it would be cool to slap the attorney on the ass. Now, this is after he's already gone through his entire court proceeding. He's entering a plea bargain. The judge saw the attorneys at sidebar and got everything all set to go, and the plea was read. And before the judge could accept the plea, Chad Ochocinco Johnson reaches behind and gives his attorney a little slap on the ass. Now, I will tell you that this lady, this particular Judge Kathleen McHugh, is my hero because she did what any judge should do. And as I always say, if that was not a superstar athlete or a movie star / TV star, and it was the rest of us, they would be treated like this. And they would have the handcuffs on.
I love our face.
And go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not get your plea agreement. And see you later. She was absolutely pissed. And rightfully so. She said, I do not accept your plea agreement. They immediately put the cuffs on him and took him to jail, in which he spent a week. And he just came back, I believe, yesterday and begged the judge for her forgiveness in the matter. And she allowed him back out of jail. But thank God, finally, an example set for our community, because these athletes that are privileged enough to go out and make millions of dollars playing a game that they love, I feel that they have a responsibility to their communities and to their fans to set a decent example. Just don't be an asshole. That's all we ask. Just don't be an asshole. It's really that simple. There are kids that are following you, idolizing you. There are people that are paying your salary through, not only corporations, but individually. Try to go to a game these days. I mean, it's tough to take a family. So for those reasons alone, kudos to Broward County Circuit Judge Kathleen McHugh. You are my new hero, for sure. And I would be remiss, being from Boston, if I didn't mention the Stanley Cup Finals. My Boston Bruins, yes, Shannon, they are my Boston Bruins this week.
I wish we had the money as if we were team owners.
Are up 2-1 against the Chicago Blackhawks after defeating them last night in a 2-0 affair at the TD Bank North Garden. And three games to go. Big series, kid. 4 games to go, but I think we're going to win it in 6. I think we're not going to take the next 2,
win.
But I think we're going to take.
I mean, I've now invested quite a few hours in these games. My social activities have risen as a result of these games, and so I do now feel obligated to have the team win, as opposed to not win, where I normally just don't care. But again, I've invested, so.
You have, and invested well. I have to admit, you're quite a trooper. Not for nothing, our little puppy, we're trying to figure out, because she kind of freaks out during loud noises and thunderstorms and things like that. And she was a hot mess last night because I think Doc Emmerich, who gets a little excited during the broadcasts, was really barking it up last night and had my dog in hysterics, not to mention the 2 times that I've woken you up out of a sound sleep with the overtime wins. You take it well, though, kid. You take it well.
Why, thank you. I don't mind hockey so much. I really don't. I mean, I used to sponsor your team. So.
I know. And I miss the game. I really do. It's I played for a long time, and injuries and health halted that career, but hey, that's why we do what we do here, and loving every minute of it. What can
Well,
you
watch
say?
other people get injured from now on. How's that?
That's true. That's true. All right, again, coming up later in the show, Finding Bigfoots. Cliff Barackman is joining us here live in the studio. And right after the break, it's your favorite gal, Shannon and Sylvia, with the Who Does That section of our program. Stick around. We'll be right back after this.
When you or someone you love needs licensed health care, Pacific Health Services gives you an option to enjoy life in your own home. Licensed RN and LVN nurses come to you when you need them. Physical, speech, and respiratory therapy are only some of the specialties that you can now get in the privacy and comfort of your home, along with diabetic, trach, and cardio care. Certified by Medicare and accredited by the National Joint Commission, Pacific Health Services are there every step of the way to make your home health easy and carefree. Call today at 213-387-9552 or ask your doctor to fax to 213-387-9553. You can also visit them at PacificHealthServicesAtHome.com. Get the care you need and enjoy life in your own home today. This message paid for by Pacific Health Services, Los Angeles, California.
And now back to Up for Discussion right here on Pararock TV.
When you hear that music, it can only mean one thing. It's that segment of the program when Shannon Sylvia asks, who does that? And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Shannon Sylvia.
Hello, guys. God? Is that you? Well, he was here. It's been a while since we did this, Jeff. My God. I mean, I just felt like I haven't done Who Does That in months. But it hasn't been. Live show, Tuesday night, guys. As always, you can always tell when it's live. Best part of the show right now, me. First story of the night from the Who Does That segment of the program. An Australian woman is believed to be suffering from foreign accent syndrome, one of the rarest syndromes in the world. What is that, you say? The woman, her name is Leanne Rowe. She was involved in a serious car crash 8 years ago. While healing from her wounds, including a broken jaw, Rowe began to speak in what sounded like a French accent. Mind you, she's Australian.
Is this for real?
They're all real.
You don't make this shit up.
I don't make these stories up. I tell you all the time. If you don't believe me, Google them.
That's true.
I don't lie. At first, the doctors and family assumed the injury to her jaw was to blame, but now, even 8 years later, the accent has stuck, according to Reuters News. Rose spoke to Reuters about her unusual affliction. It makes me so angry because I am Australian. She said, I am not French, although I do not have anything against the French people.
But her grandfather does.
How do you do that? I mean, I wouldn't be able to fake a French accent that well because I'm not French.
Obscure reference, Madonna. When she came, when she got back from Britain,
we hit her in the head.
She had an accent. And now she talks normal again. I just saw her on. I was watching Ellen the other day.
Oh, Nicki Minaj.
Well, yeah. Gotta love it. She had a regular voice again.
She's bizarre. Anyway, so the syndrome is undeniably fascinating. It has serious effects on her. She told the news that she's become withdrawn and depressed. She's sometimes so self-conscious that she asks her daughter to speak for her when she's in public.
Oh, wow.
Though extremely rare, there have been others documented cases of foreign accent syndrome. The site for University of Texas at Dallas' Speech Production Lab has other instances, including accent changes from Japanese to Korean. Now, if my accent changed from Bostonian to Korean, then you have to worry.
Oh, yeah.
Then you can call all the exorcists that we know. British English to French, American English to British English, and Spanish to Hungarian. What TF? Many who have suffered from this syndrome are upset by what they perceive as a loss of a part of their identity. 2006, Englishwoman Linda Walker suffered a stroke, woke to find that her British accent was now a combination of Jamaican, Canadian, and Slovakian.
Jesus.
That's quite the combination.
Wow.
I've lost my identity because I never talked like this before. I'm a very different person. It's strange, and I don't like it, she said to BBC News. But all are not sorry about their new way of speaking. In 2011, Karen Butler, an American who, after a small stroke, woke with a vaguely Irish English accent. Speaking with NPR, Butler said she's fine with the unexpected change because it's made her more outgoing.
Who does that?
I'm guessing that beer had nothing to do with it.
Now, this lady from Australia now has a French accent.
Isn't that bizarre?
Is she shaving her armpits?
That's mean.
I get hit in the head.
I wonder if she takes care of down on the...
I make a Russian accent for the rest of the show.
I wonder what kind of accent I could conjure if I was hit in the head or stroke victim. I don't know. It's bizarre because I don't do any of them very good.
Sexy, is it, Shannon?
I'm gonna wake up talking like Luann on King of the Hill someday.
Yeah, there you go.
Uncle Hank. How annoying would that be? All right, second story comes from Seattle, someplace I want to go see someday. A living woman in the Seattle area.
This is cool.
Who has been... What? You never heard of the first story, but now you've all of a sudden know what I'm going to say?
I actually read these. This is cool.
Shark. Woman living in the Seattle area who's seeking to prove humans can live without food set up cameras around her home to prove that she is not eating. Navina Shine, a 65-year-old England native, said she's been subsisting since May 3rd. Now, mind you, it's June 17th. On a strict diet of water and tea with just a small amount of milk in it.
Wow.
That's interesting. Well, the intention of what I'm doing is to provide evidence that it is possible, should it be possible, that human beings can live and thrive and do really well without having to eat solid food. This will literally save the earth. She's probably dead right now. She said the cameras she set up in every room of her home record her actions 24 hours a day to prove she's not been eating. She takes a portable camera when she goes out. How about to the bathroom? It's going to be a point that's a shift over point where you either go into starvation and death or you go into finding the place within and without that creates living on light, she said. I'm going to say this again. This is what she quotes. There's got to be a point that's a shift over point. You either go into starvation and death or you go into finding the place within and without that creates living on light.
Yeah, you've never heard of finding the place within and without?
Alrighty. So anywho, she may be able to make it up to 3 months on tea and water alone. People can live for extended periods of time, but people need food in order to live. Long term, over time, if you don't eat, you will die. Mm-hmm. She said she will stop her experiment if she starts to believe her health is in danger.
Who does that?
What do you think, Jeff?
Wow. I think she looks good. I think she was on...
I think she looks good.
Well, yeah, I think she was on last season's Biggest Loser. That's how she looks now. Right?
Yeah, she started this diet on May 3rd.
She's done very well.
Now she's down to 180.
Bound to win the Biggest Loser contest.
Yeah, I want to see the before picture.
She actually still looks healthy. She doesn't look emaciated yet, but
not
guess
yet.
That's coming.
Tea, and that's not calories. That's
no.
I don't know how she manages to do that, but
all right,
she's gonna have issues. The last story comes from Sisasket, Thailand. Now this is bizarre, guys. I didn't know this stuff was going on. I thought that our politicians were corrupt. Wait to hear this. Thailand's National Office of Buddhism said it's investigating complaints of monks living lavish lifestyles with luxury vehicles and private jets.
What's wrong with that, Shannon?
Buddhist monks, guys. Like, these are the guys that wear the orange-red robes and
these
their
are the ones
legs
that
are
give
crossed.
up all their worldly possessions.
They don't even speak because it's against their protocol.
Except for their Learjet.
Some people like give up all of their worldly possessions to follow these assholes.
Right.
Noparat Benjawatananan, director of the office, said the monks at a temple in Sisasket are being investigated after several complaints were filed. Officials actually viewed a video of 3 monks riding on a private jet. The Nation reported on Monday, said the monks are being investigated to see if they violated any Buddhist teachings.
You think?
Really? You don't think that they might have violated any Buddhist teachings? If the answer is yes, we will ask the local monastic chief to punish those involved, he said.
Take their
like the
jet
chief's
away.
not on that jet with them.
Yeah.
The video posted to YouTube features monks riding on private jet while using expensive headphones, sunglasses, and a Louis Vuitton bag. I don't even have a Louis Vuitton bag. The Bangkok Post reported these monks are also alleged to keep several luxury cars near the temple.
Who does that?
Oh my
'Cause
God.
that's how they roll. It's good to be
Where
a
are they
monk.
getting this money?
Well, they read that book, How to Get Rich and Be a Monk. You saw it on one of those late night
My
advertisements.
God.
You buy two for
Thought
$19.99.
paranormal fraud was bad. Now we have monk fraud. I mean, what's next?
Wow.
That is
Well,
so
what
bad.
is next is coming up next is Cliff Barackman from the Animal Planet's hit show, Finding Bigfoot. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back after this.
I could smoke cocaine for hours, start talking to the flowers, and act like I'm insane. I could rob convenience stores and hang out with crack whores if I didn't have a brain. I could see my life start narrowing as I started shooting heroin, 1 foot into the grave. I could sleep in street gutters and steal money from my mother if I didn't have a brain. Oh, I like to get high, run naked down the street, and when I run a little bit too far, I throw up in some cop's car. Then I wake up in a prison and I notice something's missing. I think it's dignity. Oh, there's nothing more pleasing waking up coughing and wheezing in cell block number 3. Oh, there's nothing more pleasing waking up coughing and wheezing in cell block number 3. Oh.
Welcome back to Up for Discussion Live. I am your host, Jeff Sylvia. And hello to those in the chat room listening all around the world. And for those of you that are new in the chat room and still in green, you can feel free to click on that little green guy. You can change your age. You can change your shoe size. You can change your name. You can change anything you want here and be part of our show. And we're also going to invite you guys to call in just a little bit and say hello to our guest. He is featured on Animal Planet's Finding Bigfoot. He is Cliff Barackman. Hey, Cliff, how are you?
I'm doing great tonight. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure having you on. And before we really roll
There he
into
is.
this thing, I've got to say I was psyched to find out that you are a South Park character, which in my household is simply iconic.
It's one of the greatest honors of my life, I have to say. Yeah.
I've got to ask you, did you know that was going to happen? Did they call you and tell you were going to be on the show, or was it something that actually surprised
no,
you?
I don't think they notify any, celebrity or whatever you want to call that they're going to be on, because most celebrities would like throw a fit and they have like lawyers involved and stuff.
So they
just went after us, and it was great. I loved it. It was an honor, seriously.
So they air it before you have time to react to it. That's the ticket, right?
I think so. Yeah, it's better to ask for forgiveness and permission.
It is indeed.
The likeness is incredible.
It does. We'll put the thing up there. That looks really good, and it happened to be his Facebook profile picture today. I happen to
Yeah.
know.
Oh, it's. I just keep it there. So it's been my Facebook profile for pretty much ever since the show aired. The South Park episode aired.
That is cool. That is cool. Now we just got to get you on Family Guy. We got to get Seth MacFarlane to do this.
Oh my
Right.
God.
Wouldn't that be the greatest?
Yeah, I'm thrilled with it. And we're also honored to be on the Colbert Report. We did a skit for them as well. And so, I mean, South Park, Colbert, I can pretty much die now.
There you go. And the soup. Weren't you part of the soup too?
Oh, yeah, the soup goes after us on a fairly regular basis, actually. And Bobo
Yeah.
and I were invited to do a skit for the soup where a Sasquatch rips off Bobo's arms and kills him.
Why wouldn't you do it?
Oh, we did.
You did?
Yeah, we did. It's out there.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, you can
We watch
YouTube
the
it.
soup
You can
all the
look it up there.
time.
I did a post on it on my blog, North American Bigfoot. It's searchable. You can go check that out there if you want.
Now, what about Tosh.0?
I don't know if we've been on that or not.
You would know.
I suppose so.
Yeah, the phone will be ringing.
I suppose so, but we've been on the Soup several times that I'm unaware of as well. Like I've heard about it like 2 or 3 weeks later, and I said, really? I didn't know.
Wow.
That is awesome. When those guys get a hold of you, you're making it. That's for sure.
Yeah,
it's an honor. A parody is the highest honor, I think.
I don't feel bad though. I mean, Ghost Adventures is made fun of way more than you, Cliff. Way more.
I don't feel bad at all. I don't mind it a bit. I have a very strange, quirky sense of humor myself, so I love stuff like that. I don't mind a bit.
Excellent.
Now you started way back as a jazz guitarist, but this is your life. I mean, you're a school teacher, correct?
I was. The show takes up too much of my time. But I taught elementary school for 14 years.
Wow.
4th, 5th, and 6th grades, basically. My degree is in jazz guitar. I've got a music degree, so I try to get out and play as much as possible. But being on the road 9 out of 12 months a year kind of prohibits me from getting down a solid set.
And this is what you do. This is what you do in your spare time. This is your life. I mean, you're dedicated to this as you live and breathe.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way I like to phrase it is Bigfooting is my life, making television is my job. The television show is going to come and go. I was Bigfooting a long time before I was on Finding Bigfoot, and I will be Bigfooting for the rest of my life, way after Finding Bigfoot is a memory.
Very cool. Now, as for most people who are at your level, it started with an experience to get to where you are, and as far as your desire to research. As most people can tell you that have this passion, have this desire, it started with an experience. So tell us a little bit about yours.
Actually, I guess I'm an exception. It didn't happen with a single experience for me. I've always, as long as I can remember, been interested in monsters and stuff, but I think every little boy is. I can remember being aware of and interested in Bigfoots when I was like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old probably. I've always been quirky and weird. I'm also a product of the 70s. Those were my formative years. So I grew up on like The Legend of Boggy Creek and In Search of, and all those sort of documentary shows, even though Boggy Creek's pseudo-documentary, throughout the 1970s. And I've always kind of filed it in the back of my head, like, I like weird stuff and I love monsters. Bigfoot's cool. I'm a quirky guy. But it was in college, actually. I had a few-hour break between classes, and I would go to the library and just kind of pick books off the shelf and random subjects that I was interested in and read them just to kind of broaden my knowledge. And one day I wandered into the anthropology section, and I came across a collection of scholarly papers written by anthropologists on the Sasquatch. And that's when I first started realizing that, like, holy smokes, not only are Bigfoots funny and quirky, but they might be real. And so that's really when I made the jump to doing field research.
Very cool. Now, if you guys have questions, you can put them up in our chat room. We do have a question in there already. As far as the TV show goes, is the network pressuring you for concrete evidence in the show? No.
The network is interested in producing television, basically. We pressure ourselves for evidence. And as far as like concrete evidence, what is that exactly? Because there's evidence and then there's proof. We have got evidence. We've recorded sound recordings. We've stumbled across hair samples. We've got some of them analyzed. We found prints, turned out to be black bear at the time, but we have run across evidence. Proof will only be in the form of a body or a piece thereof. And I can speak for Bobo, Matt, and even Renee, I think, in what we are not interested in killing one of these things. In fact, for me, it would be morally wrong to do so, even for the sake of science. I think, in the simplest level, it would be just rude, to kill it, kill one of these things. To me, these things are, it's inappropriate to kill apes in general, whether we're talking gorillas, chimpanzees, humans, we're all apes, it's inappropriate and rude to kill something to satisfy curiosity. Now, having said that, somebody's gonna. It's not going to be me, and I'm going to discourage people from doing that and encourage people to have compassion for very likely our closest relative in the animal kingdom. But somebody's going to do it because there's all sorts of, it's America. So somebody's going to do it. But I'm going to discourage that. And when it does happen, that's what happened. And we have a type specimen, and academic acceptance will come. But I am hoping that perhaps with our technology that we've developed, perhaps the human species has evolved past that Darwinian model of what is that thing? Let's kill it and find out. Because there's other ways to do it now. And what we're going to see is a rising tide of acceptance amongst the academics in the world. And perhaps with the technology and DNA sequencing and all that stuff, we can actually prove this species, prove the species without a type specimen, without a holotype is what it's called. And there's actually precedence for that. There are 2 species of animals that there is no holotype for. Number one is humans. There's no holotype for humans. And another species is a monkey, a primate, but a specific kind of monkey that was considered to be too rare to even sacrifice one for the sake of science. Well, why don't we take that same approach, even though I don't think Sasquatches are too rare for that, why don't we take that approach just out of compassion, if for no other reason?
Very cool. Our guest tonight is Cliff Barackman. If you guys want to call in, the number is posted on the screen. It's 213-784-0884. And reading your website, Cliff, I've got an interesting question that came up there, and I loved your answer to it. You get asked, I'm sure, a lot of questions along the way. The one that I found most intriguing is, why don't you find any bones or remnants of Sasquatch?
Awesome.
Well, yeah, people ask me, if Bigfoot's real, where are the bones? And I ask them back, like, if mountain lions are real, where are the bones? One doesn't generally find naturally dead bear, mountain lion, bobcat, etc. bones, because these are apex predators. They are on the top of the food chain. Nothing eats them for food, in other words. So you do find deer kills, you do find rabbit and whatever else out there, roadkill, you find stuff like that. But bears and stuff, mountain lions, we don't find their bones, and it's because of the way they go through life. All animals, including humans and bears and whatever, and Bigfoots, get sick. And when wild animals are sick, we think, no one studies this, by the way, so it's all kind of hypothesis at this point. We think they kind of stash themselves away in a safe place because they're clearly vulnerable. Probably near water, probably in the thickest brush they can find. And then one day, instead of getting better, they die. Well, they hid their body is a quick answer. But also, scavengers start moving in very soon thereafter, within a few hours probably, or certainly within a day or two, like coyotes and weasels and whatever else. And they start dispersing the body parts, carrying a leg over there, carrying an arm over there, and they eat the meat away. Moths eat the hair away, and then the bones are eaten by mice, rats, porcupines, deer eat small bits of bones. That's where they get the calcium for their antlers. And any number of other creatures in the woods, the bones are eaten. And considering how rare Sasquatches certainly must be, if we don't find mountain lion bones, it should be proportionally more difficult to find Sasquatch bones, because there's probably 50 or 100 mountain lions per Sasquatch. It should be that much harder, and you never really find mountain lion bones. So that's kind of the answer for that one.
That's awesome.
Makes total sense. Now, what generation of Bigfoot do you think exists today? Do you think this is still the first generation thereof, or do you think we've seen many generations?
Oh, no. This is the last generation, and there's obviously some in the future, just like we're the last generation of humans to so far exist. Because every living species on the planet right now, including Bigfoots and people and everything else, is the end product of evolution so far. So all animals have an ancestry that goes back until somehow life started, whatever that was. And we have common ancestors, like humans and chimps broke off several million years ago. And, so Bigfoots are the end product so far of evolution.
Shannon, do you have any questions?
I'm getting some great questions for you, Cliff. The first question comes from Nikki. She wants to know if you guys are coming back to Kentucky anytime soon in the near future, if you happen to know.
Well, I'm on break right now, and I go back on the road at the end of July. We have more than a dozen new episodes to film, and right now we're in what's called pre-production, which is when we have guys and gals researching, looking for evidence that we want to look into, and looking for stories and lining up witnesses. So we have not settled all those places we're going to be.
Yeah.
But we start filming at the end of July again, and we already have 8 episodes in the can for the new season, which should start in the fall. So are we going to Kentucky? I don't know. We'll see.
Congratulations on being signed for more episodes. I know that's really exciting. Russell has a question for you, and I want to know this too because I couldn't find this in your bio. At what age do you start? Did you really start going into the woods looking for signs of Bigfoot?
Well, I've been camping all my life with my family and stuff, and even as a little boy, I remember looking around for footprints because I loved Bigfoot back then. You know, I wasn't as into it obviously as I am now. It's kind of all encompassing now, but I was interested, and I would look for footprints and stuff like that, or even bear prints. I was out in the woods doing that. But it was in 1994 that I actually took my first foray into the woods specifically for Bigfoot. In those early days, I was trying to locate the Patterson-Gimlin film site, so I'd go to Bluff Creek. And it took me a number of years to actually find the site through various means and avenues. But it was in 1994 that I really started in earnest doing field work.
Excellent. I have the questions are still pouring in. Morgan says it's a very serious question for you, Cliff. Are you opposed to killing one, even in the name of science? What would you do if you were put in a situation where you came across one and became hostile against you?
Cower.
Really? That's it.
Well, you know what? What are you going to do, really? I own a firearm, but it's a .357, and something like that could never take down a Sasquatch. So, like, what could I do is the bottom line. I'm a compassionate person. I think it's morally wrong to kill apes, even for science, which kind of translates to because I'm curious about them. Well, you guys are curious about me. You're writing questions to me. Don't kill me to find the answer, please.
Well, if you were to be hostile towards them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about that because I'm not hostile towards Bigfoots. I'm trying to work at something else. I'm trying to more Diane Fossey, Jane Goodall approach of getting them used to me, and that's not out on the road. Finding Bigfoot is its own thing. We go in and do it quick and dirty. Basically, we go to an area. We're in an area for about 8 or 9 days to film the episode. We spend at least 2 nights in the woods for 6-7 hours at a time. You see it for 4 minutes, but we're out there for 6 or 7 hours trying to get close to one of these things. And we're like, whoop, and banging on stuff. That's the quick and dirty way. I don't think that's a good way to figure out if they're around, and if you're not working that spot on a regular basis. The spots that I work on a regular basis, I don't do that stuff. Right. I try other techniques, more subtle, passive techniques that I believe work better.
Yes, you do. This is a really different question. This came from G. Cole. They want to know. The year that you took off from work to spend time in the wilderness, in a way, reminded this person of a Native American vision quest or Australian Aboriginal walkabout. And she wonders, besides looking for Bigfoot, if it was in any way spiritual for you.
Native Americans, a lot of people don't understand Native American culture because there's no real separation between spiritual and, quote unquote, real. And I endeavor towards that philosophy. I try to make my life. I guess I don't like the words because it has different connotations. But if you make your life a prayer, then what's the difference anymore? So when my heart is in the woods, I love it out there. It's touching. It touches me on the deepest level. To spend a lot of time out there in the woods and adventuring and having fun and learning and listening and being quiet and still, you can't help but have that touch you and affect you in certain ways. I learned a tremendous amount that year, and it's something that I will always look back upon fondly.
What have you run into in the woods unexpectedly? Have you ever turned a corner and see a
turkey,
a cat, or a bear or something that just?
Absolutely, yeah.
Of course we have.
I was actually, when we were shooting the Arizona episode. Tyler Bounds, he's a Bigfooter, really. He's not so much a camera guy, but he's the guy that goes out with us when we do our solo trip. So we're not really doing the solo. Tyler's there with us, but it's just Tyler and I. So Tyler and I were in this area where some previous activity was happening. And there was all these ponds and a marsh, but the complicated part was that it was on these people's property. So I trespassed. But I thought the house was empty. Had I known somebody was in there, I would have never gone. But when I got close to, I said, "Oh, there's a building right there," which I didn't know at the time. Honestly, I didn't know I was trespassing. There's a building there, And I was trying to figure, is a light on in there? I can't tell. So I got a little bit closer. And as I approached this stone wall, this large tan-colored shadow like ran up on the wall and ran right in front of me, like within 10 feet. And I was, what the? And I realized, holy smokes, that was a mountain lion.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was like within 10 feet of a mountain lion zipping away from me. It was a fairly small one, but a mountain lion nonetheless.
Wow.
That kind of took me back a little bit. It took me aback, I should say.
Well, Shan, obscure reference, you did a Who Does That story once with a lady that had got a cat, thought it was a cat that she was rescuing from the side of the road.
God.
It turned out to be a bobcat?
Yeah, she hit a bobcat with a car, and it was big, so she held it up, and her friend took pictures for Facebook, and they threw it in the back seat of the car, and somebody on Facebook wrote her back and said, that's not a cat.
And then it rose back into consciousness, and all hell broke loose.
Who does that?
Yeah, that was a Who Does That for sure. You know, it's funny. Your field is very similar with Shannon's as far as the paranormal field when it comes to scrutinizing and resistance and skepticism, and as it also fraud. What do you say to the frauds out there that have staged episodes, and how has it affected your research as far as being a serious Bigfooter?
Well, most hoaxers go through great lengths to get attention. And I don't know, it would be a really interesting psychological study if somebody, like some psychologist, studied some known hoaxers. And I'm not going to go into names or specific incidences or anything like that. But by and large, I think there's something wrong with those people. But then again, a lot of people think there's something wrong with me because I But I think that high-profile hoaxes, and even smaller ones, do damage to the subject. The really big ones that get like media attention, because the media loves this. The media loves hoaxes and all that stuff. They damage the subject. And hoaxes on a smaller scale, damage either researchers' reputations if they buy into it or are fooled. They make a mockery of the subject. And I think it's disrespectful to the creatures themselves in a way. But at the same time, I guess, I'm an optimist, but I guess on one hand, they kind of keep the creatures safe a little bit longer because it discourages people from looking. But what I find really discouraging is the misinformation that it spreads. I'm constantly being asked, like, oh, the Patterson Gimlin film, that guy admitted that was a fake on his deathbed. So, well, no, Ray Wallace died, and his kids said that he made the Bigfoot thing up, and then the media took that and wrapped it up with the surgeon photographs. Like the surgeon photograph, that thing, the Loch Ness Monster.
Yes.
The guy who took that, his name was Surgeon. He admitted on his deathbed that this was fake. And it turns out he died about the same time as Ray Wallace. And our amazing media took both stories and put it together. And said, oh, Ray Wallace admitted on his deathbed it was fake. He made the whole thing up. And that's not even true. It's not even true at all. So the misinformation I find annoying as far as hoaxes go. But it damages the credibility of the subject and the people who take it seriously. And of course, it costs a bunch of money to go driving out and print and pull a bunch of fake casts or something like that. But
and if
I guess I don't know. We have some pretty psychologically ill people in the world, I guess.
You think?
And if you're going to do it, at least do it right. I mean, make sure you're not going to get caught doing it anyway. But
okay, Dexter.
Yeah, there you go.
I've got another great question for Mitch, but you know what? We're going to take a quick. Jeff, you want to say a quick something about Mid-South, and then
we got a little business to take care of here. Cliff Barackman is our guest. If you guys want to call in, I'm going to put the call-in number up there again. It's 213-784-0884. Don't be chicken shit. You can talk to him in person. You're getting a lot of questions through the chat room, but don't hesitate to call in and say hello.
Dina.
You do have some friends in Rhode Island that are saying hi to you that you filmed an episode with down there.
Big Roadie episode.
Yes, the Big Roadie episode.
Hi, guys.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah.
Rhode Island Bigfoot.
All right, guys. We're going to give away a Mid-South ticket here just before the end of the show. We're going to have to come up with a question, and I think we might let Cliff come up with a question for those that are hardcore Bigfooters. And anybody that might answer the question correctly can win a Mid-South ticket.
If you're serious about going, guys.
Of course. It's only the biggest convention in the nation. Takes place August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and it's in Where, Shannon?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeed. All right, kid, back to the questions. And well, I got one real quick. How do you qualify a location? I mean, where do you find the criteria to go searching for Sasquatch?
There are a lot of different ways you can do that. The easiest way is find out where they've been seen before. And if they've been seen in the general vicinity several times, that's even better. Because one thing about Bigfoots is they go back to the same places again and again. Most likely because there's a food resource there that is in bloom or is ripe, or the animals go there at a certain time. And Bigfoots, like every other animal, follow the food. So I think if you find a likely food resource in an area, in a time and area where Bigfoots have been seen before, that's a really easy way to figure that one out. That being said, the best spot I have, I call it the Blueberry Bog, has never had a reported sighting there. Nobody's ever said, "Oh, I've saw Bigfoot there. I heard a Bigfoot there," and I just went there because it looked really, really good. It looks like a place that a Bigfoot would be hanging out. And for me, that means like meadows, swamps, bogs, transition zones. See, animals hang out in transition zones where one type of area turns into another type of area, whether it's the border of a meadow in the woods, or an open river area in the woods, or something like that, because that's where most of the food is, and they can also retreat easily to the forest cover and be safe. So find a spot like that has some sort of strategic terrain where Bigfoots can like hang out and watch to make sure nobody comes in or signal each other or do whatever they do. So those are the kind of things I look for.
That's crazy. Now, I have a question from my good friend Mitch here. Very good question. Is there anything that can happen or that you may find that may just convince you that they don't exist?
Oh, not at this point.
Okay.
No, I saw one. Like, they're real. Like, there's no question about that. At least I think I saw one. I mean, I saw a bipedal figure through a thermal imager at 2:30 in the morning navigating a hillside without light.
Okay.
At 2 miles off trail in the Uwharrie National Forest. So, no. And plus, I've spoken to, but I knew they were real before that because the evidence shows me they're real. I didn't see a mountain lion for 17 years of looking for Bigfoot, and I was pretty sure they were real. To this day, I have not yet seen an atom, but I'm pretty sure atoms are real because the evidence points to that.
Okay.
I've spoken to thousands of people who tell me the same thing over and over again. I've spoken to law enforcement officers who basically lost their job because they insisted they saw what they saw. I've tracked them. I've smelled them. I've had rocks thrown at me. These things are real. It's kind of like that. To me, that question is like, what would it take at this point for you, like, to realize that dogs weren't real? It's like, what do you mean?
Well, we have carcasses and pets and dog food and all kinds of stuff around.
And lots of good questions. One good question I saw in the chat, Shannon: can Bigfoots mimic human speech?
I've been told yes. I have not heard that. Well, there's a gentleman on the East Coast, and he doesn't want to be known or anything, so I'm not going to say his name or anything. He told me about an area that he lives near this area. It's a wild area, and he walks his dog in this area. And he does it quite often, actually. And over the decades, he's seen a Sasquatch there on more than one occasion. So it's a witness who's had several sightings in this one spot. And when he's there, he walks his dog and whatnot. And when his dog runs out or whatever, he talks to his dog. He goes, "Hey, come here. Hey," that sort of thing. And just like last year sometime, I believe, or maybe the year before, I think it was last year. I don't know. Time's kind of elastic for me. But just last year, he wrote me and said, "Yeah, I was out there, and then I heard my own voice saying, 'Hey,' like he calls his dog."
Wow.
And all Native Americans say that Sasquatches are excellent mimics, and this makes perfect sense to me. So yes, I do believe that Bigfoots can mimic human speech.
Wow.
Wow.
Jesus.
That's really cool.
So we have here where we're from, where our studio is located, Monsterland. Did you get a chance to Google that at all, Cliff?
I haven't had a chance to do anything.
Okay.
I was in Los Angeles until this morning.
All right.
Doing some pickup shots for the new season. I was out backpacking at Skookum Lake for the last 3 days before that. And yeah, I haven't had a
All
chance.
right,
to do
you get an excuse. You get an excuse.
Talk about travel nightmares. We kind of had this conversation before. He was nice enough to call me off air before and said, this is my schedule. It's going to be tight. And lo and behold, we had about 3 minutes to get things going, kind of like your schedule, Shane, when you're trying to fly into places.
Yeah, I feel for Cliff because Cliff is me 5 years ago right now. So
And puts the miles on.
God bless you, dude.
Right.
But what I was saying, in one of our chatters, who's from the local area, he knows in the 70s we had a lot of Bigfoot sightings in my neighborhood, and they nicknamed the woods that I lived in Monsterland. And now it's a Walmart, super Walmart in there. But the woods
And that's
are
where Bigfoot shops, I hear.
Halloween costumes.
That's right.
But it's just really bizarre that we finally have a Bigfoot guy as an interview, because I grew up not really interested in Bigfoot. Like, for me, it was paranormal and ghosts, but I knew that at the end of my road, people had seen Bigfoot creatures and Sasquatch-looking creatures, and somebody was actually attacked. And it's wild, but I just never really got into it.
Well, there are Bigfoots in Massachusetts and certainly in New England in general. It's the Big Roadie Paranormal or I think it's Paranormal Society, not Bigfoot Society. Those are my friends there, I believe, who said hi to me. I don't know that, but that's what I think. A little while ago. They look into things in that general area. I've got other people. This woman named Norma looks into stuff for me in Massachusetts. I just got a report last week from Massachusetts. Some footprints were pulled out of there about 4 months ago or something like that. I got a copy of one of those. There's certainly viable habitat there.
Oh,
all throughout New England, really. And now that a lot of the what was once farmland is being reverted back into forest, there's a ton of habitat everywhere there. It makes perfect sense.
Yep.
All right, we're going to give away a Mid-South ticket here. We've got about 8 minutes left. Cliff, you want to throw out a question to our listeners, and the way that you guys are going to win is the first one to answer the question correctly on our Facebook page. And if you want to like us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/PTV Rocks. We'll win a ticket to Mid-South in Louisville, Kentucky. And sorry to put you on the spot, but I know you're good at this. Fire away with your question.
A trivia question?
Yeah.
Anything.
A trivia question to
Roger Patterson, who of course filmed the Patterson. He's holding the camera during the Patterson-Gimlin film. What is Roger Patterson's middle name?
Oh my.
Okay.
All right, guys,
There you
Google
go,
it quick.
All right. In the meantime, we got about 7 minutes left. You have a new project coming up that we spoke about a little bit earlier today, and it's the Bigfoot Road Trip. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Bigfoot Road Trip is kind of it's basically a DVD release, because finding Bigfoot is one thing. Finding Bigfoot allows a certain side of my personality through. But remember, I'm like a quirky elementary school teacher. My students, this sounds arrogant, but they adored me because I was funny and weird and had a great sense of humor, and everything I did was fun. But so I'm Mr. Science, like everything serious Bigfoot thing guy, but that's not really me. Even though I do take it very seriously, and I try to take a scholarly sort of attitude towards it, I love doing it. And that side of it sometimes doesn't come through as well as I'd like on Finding Bigfoot. And also, you worked on TV, that like television is kind of a shallow, superficial media.
No.
There's only so much time is really what it comes down to. We film over 100 hours and edit it down to 43 and a half minutes for our show. So I get a lot of people critique my show, like, you didn't go as far into that as I would have, like all the haters and stuff out there.
Yeah.
And so, well, we do, but the editors take that out because there's only 43 and a half minutes. So since I'm Bigfooting anyway, and I have a ridiculous friend whose name is Craig Flippy, we go out to the woods all the time. I was just spent a couple nights with him out at Skookum Lake. So what I'm doing now is I'm filming my adventures, and we're putting them into DVD releases because I'm doing it anyway, and people seem to be interested. So the first volume of Bigfoot Road Trip will be available, I'm thinking, in like a week. In fact, I got a call today from the DVD replicators that they had a question about shipping. So they'll be shipped tomorrow, basically. And as soon as we get them on my website, there'll be a big announcement, and you can order a Bigfoot Road Trip DVD.
Nice.
So Bigfoot Road Trip is basically a collection of my Bigfooting adventures, pieced together with puppets, oddly enough, which is cool. But like we go out and we go backpacking at Mount St. Helens, and you come with us. Here's a spoiler: we didn't find a Bigfoot there. But I also on this release, I also have a never before seen photograph that I strongly believe is a Sasquatch. There's an in-depth look at the process of getting the London tracks, which represent the most Bigfoot evidence ever collected at one location in all Bigfoot history. There's about 8 or 9 segments on there. I think there's 8 segments on there, plus some special features, including the last interview with Scott McLean before he died this past spring, and his work and legacy. You get to go driving with Bobo briefly. And I don't know, I'm not going to spoil everything, but there's a lot of good Bigfoot stuff on there. So you can go to cliffbarackman.com and click on the Bigfoot Road Trip tab, and that'll tell you a little bit. Plus, there's a couple like sneak peeks and promos on there that kind of get you the feel of it, I guess, in some ways.
And you can also check it out on YouTube as well. Very raw, very funny, mixed in with a little bit of comedic relief in there. You guys keep it light, and you certainly keep it real, that's for sure. And
yeah, you know what? When you watch it, some parts of it, for all you people who say that we don't go into it far enough, some parts of it are almost boring because I'm giving you so much information. But, I made this for me, basically. Not to make it, but like I made something that I would want to watch, like with enough information that I would feel satisfied, like, oh, that's how Cliff determined the size of that creature in the video to be 7 foot 8 inches tall. That sort of stuff.
There you go. All right, Shan, do we have a winner?
Wondering if Lewis was the middle name.
Nope.
No.
It wasn't Lewis.
We do not have a winner.
We had a answer in the chat room, but it was in our chat room. It's not in the Facebook chat room. So I would recommend, I believe it was the Godfather that might have had the right name. So hopefully he can go
Gotta
up
go
into our
to
channel.
facebook.com.
Find the answer in some publications.
Oh, you'll find it, guys. You'll
there
find
we
it.
go.
PTV Rocks right after facebook.com.
There
If
we
you
go.
guys can go up there on a Power Rock TV page, like it, and post the right answer, you'll receive 1 free ticket to Mid-South, and I believe that is a $65 value.
It is. That gets
Not
you in the whole
bad.
weekend.
That's the whole weekend. Meet huge celebrities like myself. Cliff, you
Yourself
need to
doing
be there
kids.
at the Mid-South Paranormal Convention.
I'm working.
Cletus or Herbert. People are just throwing out names at this point. You know what? We're going to give people an opportunity to watch the archive show, and they can still get an opportunity to win the ticket
There you go.
after
There
the
you
show.
go.
We're not going to give up.
Somebody's Googling it. I can't believe you guys haven't Googled it yet. He gave you a
Pretty
4-minute
obscure.
answer, for God's sakes. You could have Googled it 10 minutes ago.
That's my power punch is trivia. So.
There you go. I'm sure you get a ton of tough questions, especially, again, being in a field that is scrutinized probably as much, if not more, I would say, than even the paranormal field. What do you say to the people that say there isn't enough evidence, there isn't enough proof? How do you respond to those people, besides your own personal, recognizing of what you do see? How do you respond to the most skeptical of skeptics?
Well, the truth is, by far, the vast majority of skeptics aren't aware of the evidence. And it's a simple matter of just becoming educated on the subject. I mean, look, this is part of my Bigfoot book collection. Like, there's evidence in all of these. It's not proof. But when you take all this stuff and put it together, and you learn about the subject, you go out to the field, you do your own observations and stuff, and you see how all this stuff behind me, all that knowledge is congruent with each other. Whether you're talking about sighting reports from 1835 or sighting reports from yesterday. Like, they do the same things, they're described the same ways, they have the same habits, they have the same anatomy. Everything is congruent. That's not a coincidence. That's a biological creature.
Indeed. All right, Cliff Barackman has
Great
been
answer.
our guest tonight on the show. I want to thank you so much for joining us. And again, you can find him at cliffbarackman.com. That's his official site right there. We've got it up on your screen. And also on YouTube, check out the trailer for Bigfoot Road Trip coming to a store near you and on the web, of course. Right, Cliff?
Absolutely. Amazon, and really go to my website. That'll be the first place it'll be offered.
Very cool. Very cool. Guys, I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us and telling your friends about the show. It seems to just get better and better all the time, Shan. This was worth coming off of summer break for. We've actually been on summer break here for a couple of months already.
And summer hasn't even started yet.
And that's right. So we do it upright. We're going to stay on break for a little while, but this is definitely worth
This is
coming
our
off
thunderstorm break.
It is. Thank you, Cliff, for joining us very much. Appreciate the time and very interesting information there as well.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. On behalf of myself, Shannon, Sylvia, and our guest tonight, Cliff Barackman, thank you for joining us for Up for Discussion. Good night.
Brother whiskey and sister nicotine. I must admit you got your claws in me.